What's up, everybody? Hey, how are you? What's going on? That's right, no preview screen today. No, hey, this is Nerdzoic, all that kind of stuff. It is like my final stream, not ever, but on this software. I am so done with it. I thought I was done with it after I hung out with my last guest, and he's like, dude, this software sucks. But I wasn't. I'm still here. In fact, I'm literally talking right now to burn time while I try to finish setting up the stream that I thought was set up, because it's not. I hate you, Ecamm Live. I'm coming back home, StreamYard. Hey, here we are. Okay. Just need to put a little bit of goodness on here. So for all of you people who are starting to roll in here, give me a hello or a hello there in the chat. Let me know who's here. I love that it takes my thumbnail away. And we have... I think it's official. Producer Tom, you need to just stay here all the time and be my tech person. Because I'm terrible at it most of the time. Okay. Hey, everything works now. Maybe. Close enough. All right, I see 20 people here as I try to do this. All right, that was fun. So, what is up, everybody? How are we? We are doing a little stream tonight. I almost pulled a Zack Ryder instead, a little screen ski. As you can see, my office is a mess. I am actually fresh home from Hawaii. Woo! If you hadn't noticed, for those of you on the mailing list or who pay attention to the socials, my posting slowed down. It was really hard to keep up on stuff in Hawaii. I got all the new stuff up. Producer Tom stayed in the house and he ran the show here, so that's how all the packages got shipped. I don't know how he kept up because it was a busy time. But yeah, now I've been playing catch-up since 3:30 a.m. this morning. I am jet-lagged still. I cannot figure out U.S. time or whatever time I guess that was to U.S. I don't know. But I am here with Jason Sandberg of Jupiter, which is an independent comic book. And here we are. So, let me introduce, without further ado, if the button works, $1 million question, Jason. It worked!
Matt, this is wild. You've got jet lag. The technology's breaking. It's Monday. We're going wild. This is fun. Let's see how far we can take this before the whole thing rattles apart.
Generally, once we're on, it's like an old car. Once it gets going and the engine's running, it's okay.
So you're saying you're the Millennium Falcon of podcasts is what you're saying?
Yeah, it seems it. It sure seems it. And even though our viewer, up there it goes, we went from 0 to 28 in a second. That makes sense.
Awesome.
So let me kind of check into the chat here, and then we'll kind of get into the meat and potatoes.
Cool.
Bum. Look at that. It worked again.
Nice.
So, whoa, didn't want to do that. All right, who is here? I saw Juan is here. Juan, how are you? Undercover Colton, welcome to the stream. Justin, first one to like. Got to appreciate it. N2 Me Snoop. I feel like I know who you are, but I don't remember. I don't got a clue. My memory's terrible. Roland, veteran of the stream, how you doing? I did not get any braids in Hawaii. I did get some suntan. It's very uneven because I went like full middle-aged white dad. I had the hat on like a Mike from Breaking Bad in the desert.
Yep.
I had the Hawaiian shirt. All I was missing was the spot of suntan lotion on my nose.
Nice.
It was great. It was great. Yes, Hawaii is indeed great. So, couple public service announcements before we get rolling. So, now that I am back and kind of into the swing of things here, I wanted to do a quick update on some pre-order things. All sorts of stuff went up today, like literal crazy amounts of stuff, more stuff. It took me all day to put it up, is where I'm going with this. So, taking a quick look. First of all, look at that. For all of you who missed it, the biggest Kickstarter of toys in years. Savage Crucible. I think I'm the first one to get it up. Rob Post, who created the line, he sent out this email to all the retailers like, an hour and 10 minutes ago. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get on a live stream. But then I was like, nah, I want to be first. And I did it.
Nice.
Also today, as long as we're doing Independence, why not? Biker Mice from Mars from the Nichelle Company, who you might know better as the people behind the toys that made us, and a toy store near you, which one day, when I have a physical location, they best come visit me. Which, as you can tell by the crap behind me, it's a struggle. Struggle is crazy. Cosmic Legion Wave 3 is up too, by the way. Last but not least, I figured, let's be a glutton for punishment, so I set up a May Mega Sale. Some sales items are better than others. Some of these are up to 60% off. Some of these are 30%. They're all over the place. Come in and find out for yourself. Buy some goodies. Biker Mice was so underrated. I never played the game. In fact, when I saw these, I said, hey, I know them. But then I was like, I don't know where I know them from. But it's a 1994 Super Nintendo game, so there it is. Of course, we got the bald questions, articulated hero. I think I'm a big guy. I used to use a straight razor, but I was cutting my head up too much because I do it in the shower. Yeah. So we switched to that. All right, so I'm going to go away from that for a while, and we're going to go to... And of course, that means I lost my page that I had saved open because I suck at this. For life.
This is the last stream with this app, so everything that can go wrong, let's make it go wrong, and
without a doubt,
it will.
Why can't I find the link I had open that was all of your stuff? Good lordy. Well, let's just go backwards. That should do it.
It's Monday.
There it is.
All right.
There it is. Most unprofessional podcaster on earth, ladies and gentlemen. I make it look easy. So, Jason.
Yes, sir.
I have a list of questions for you that I kind of blurted down throughout the day. And as I did them, I'm like, oh, yeah, I want to ask this. And, oh, I want to ask that. So they might be a little bit weird in the sense that the order I put them in, but that's because my notes are weird.
I'm on day 34 of this campaign. I went through the first 30. The campaign hit $5,000. I extended it. I've fielded just about every question that's a boilerplate. I'm looking forward to some unique questions. So hit me up.
All right, we're going to start off with the easy one, like a job interview. Tell me about yourself. Who is Jason?
So Jason Sandberg was born in 1971, and in 1977, I discovered the work of Jack Kirby. I picked up Captain America 214, and that sparked a lifelong love of the comic book medium, and particularly Jack Kirby. Then after that, in 1983, I came across Nexus number 2 by Mike Barron and Steve Rude, and that opened the door to indie comics for me. I discovered indie comics could be better drawn, better scripted, on better paper with better coloring than the mainstream comics. So I had my feet in two worlds. The mainstream Marvel stuff, continued to love that, the best of the best with regards to that. And then the full open canvas of indie comics. So through the 80s, Dreadstar, ElfQuest, Nexus, Cerebus, Love and Rockets, all these great independent titles, continued that my love of that. Flash forward in the late 90s, I published Jupiter as a black and white indie comic book, ran 9 issues through Diamond. At the time, funny story, I was working on Wednesdays at a comic book shop in the mid to late 90s. So I was there when Todd McFarlane was kind of revolutionizing the toy industry. Now, nice. I was never a toy person. However, I do have my Captain America lunchbox collection here. We'll look at that later because that's kind of where I overlap with what you do. I've got my Luke Skywalker here, but by and large, I was there seeing it happen as he was coming out with what, in my opinion, were basically miniature sculptures, right? Just amazing work. So I was always a bystander to the toy revolution, but I've appreciated it, and I've got an Alex Ross Superman statue over here. But by and large, I was more of a comic book person. But I absolutely understand the passion and the quality and the creativity of what you delve into and what you're sharing with people. So I reached out to you because, hey, our worlds overlap in terms of the pop culture and the quality.
No doubt about it. They certainly do. And like I've actually been attempting to do more comic-y stuff. Make
Okay.
myself there. I am. Just with my content, just because, YouTube can be social media can be such a negative, ugly place that it's hard to, like, I don't want every video to be like, here's why this company stinks today. So I've been trying to get more into like that, but it ain't clicking yet. Sometimes it does, mostly because I say something wrong, and then people go and they'll like share it everywhere. Look at this dummy. He thinks this is this. So now I lean into it. I'm like, yeah, Reed Richards, he's not that smart, guys. And, I think they're starting to catch on to me.
Right. Well, he couldn't cure the thing. So, yeah,
I made the case that he's just not street smart, okay? Like, that guy did so many dumb, ethically questionable things over the years. Yeah, but he still scored Sue. So he did something right.
Exactly. Yeah. She's a catch. But I think that with what you're doing right now and a lot of things happening on YouTube and social media, I think we're coming into a new era where on the one hand, people feel they're doing a service by saying, just because it's published by Marvel or DC, or just because it's produced by a corporation, doesn't mean you have to buy it, right? Which I think is a turn, which is a bit of a revolution as a consumer movement. But then I think the second part is then highlighting things that are of value, that are of quality, and kind of bringing that to the fore. Nobody wants to sit there and listen to someone complain all day. Nobody wants to hear somebody. Nobody wants to complain all day. So there has to be that balance between. I'm curating. I'm saying, hey, listen, this is a good product. Go check it out. This is a terrible product. They need to go back to the drawing board. I think there has to be both of those. Otherwise, it just becomes monotonous.
Absolutely. And, going back to what you said about us having, that crossover, another one is both of our mediums that we really delve in. It's become so much harder to do in the modern world in some senses. In some senses, it's a lot easier because the world's got smaller. But from a cost standpoint, to do things, unless you're doing it like you do, where you're, doing the whole show, producing comic books now, it is just not, you look at the numbers that Marvel gets sold on a single issue, and that's the big boys. And then it's just like, man, there's just not enough money to go around for everybody. Toys are the same way, unless you're, again, a big boy. The margins are so small. It's very hard. It's a hard business.
I am fortunate because I have a fantastic and engaging day job, right? So I'm doing this after hours on the weekends as a passion. And then the other thing I have going for me is that I'm the writer, artist, colorist, inker, letterer. I do everything in this book, including the typos. No, just kidding. There's no typos. I do everything here, so I don't have to pay anybody else. So as a crowdfunding effort, the book is 95% done. So if you back Jupiter on Indiegogo, it's also on Kickstarter if you prefer Kickstarter. But if you back it, you're going to get it before 4th of July. So I'm not raising funds to pay an artist or writer and stuff like that. I'm just raising funds to pay for the print run. And then we'll be fulfilling the book, and then the overs I'll go to Diamond or Lunar, and I'll sell through other conventions and things like that. So my approach to this is a bit unique because I'm a jack of all trades, but then also I'm not asking people to pay my mortgage, pay my insurance. I've got that covered. I'm doing this for the love of it. And I'm trying to pour as much quality and creativity into this as possible, give you as much value as possible.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, trying to do it. I don't know how you have so much energy doing the day job and this. It's going to wear you out.
Pepsi Zero, my friend. Pepsi Zero.
I'll tell you, before I went full-time with the toy store, I was doing full-time job in this. And they're like, hey, Matt, notice you only put in 50 hours here last week. And I'm like, yeah, 50 here, 45 at home. Say something.
And the family, right?
Yeah. Well, they just saw me in between showers at that point, So you said that this is something, so this whole story sounds like it's been decades in the making, basically.
Mm-hmm. So I did Jupiter in the 90s as a black and white indie, ran 9 issues. It was one of those things, it was critically acclaimed, but I had no marketing budget. I was a shoestring budget. So Diamond I'm sure you're familiar with Diamond, but
oh yeah, I get my toys from there.
Perfect. So they liked Jupiter in the 90s. They worked with me. We tried to move the needle. We would send out these targeted promo packs and we'd say, hey, let's go after the top 200 shops that sell Love and Rockets. Let's go after the top 200 shops that sell 8-Ball. So we'd assemble these little promo packs with a cover letter, free comics. I'd send it out. wouldn't move the needle. And my dilemma was that Jupiter, the sales never went down. So the people that bought it kept buying it, right? And the sales were going up slowly, but I couldn't move the needle to the point where I was getting a clear message from the market. And I understand the dilemma of the brick and mortar retailers, especially in the late 90s. They were just getting flooded with stuff, and they've got to be conservative and cautious about what they order. It's a unique book, and I could not break through. So I had to do a gut check and say, listen, I'm in my late 20s. This is when I've got to do family, career, house, stuff like that. Do I hang in there like another year, or do I take care of the family stuff? So I opted to take care of the family stuff, take care of the career stuff. It's worked out well. I'm well positioned in life. I'm happy, but I've always wanted to continue doing these comic books. So go forward to 2019. I see Carl Kessel and Tom Grummett are crowdfunding. There's all these crowdfunding efforts that are happening, and I realize, hey, listen, this direct market is more direct than this crowdfunding. It's more direct than the direct market. You can get in touch with readers, and you as a reader, you're able to take a shot on something, right? You see a restaurant that just opened, you're going to go give it a shot, right? If you're a retailer, you're hesitant to order 50 copies of something because you don't know how it's going to perform. And when they would order indie comic books, they might order 2 or 3, and then the 2 or 3 sell, or 2 of them sell, and they're relieved that some of them sold. And okay, on issue 2, issue 3, let's cut back the orders, right? So it created a claustrophobic situation. But with crowdfunding, I'm getting right in front of people, showing them what I've got here, and then they're kind of doing that entrepreneurial investment in the book. They're crowdfunding the actual print run. They're getting a copy of the book and some add-ons, and they're kind of part of that process of building up awareness and building a readership.
That is super cool. I'll tell you, I know next to nothing about crowdfunding in the comic world. I know in the toy world, I know a lot about it, but It's incredibly difficult. It's incredibly competitive to try to get, you talk about competing for just eyes on a spinner rack. Mm-hmm. It's no longer a spinner rack. Now you have a split second as they scroll down the page. Are you going to catch someone's attention? It is very difficult. But Absolutely. It seems like you're on the right path here with this as you come out with it. Now, is this a continuation of the black and white, or are you just starting from scratch?
Yeah, let me tell you, we're over I think we're at 140 backers. We've raised over $5,000. We're approaching $5,100. I am delighted and honored and humbled by how many backers we've got. I want to keep going, but I want you to know out there that that I am to most of you, I'm an unknown quantity, right? I'm a new creator. I am so heartened that we've gotten the support we've gotten, and I'm going to continue another 28 days or whatever to kind of push the word on this. This is a new storyline, new artwork. This is full color. It's 40 pages for $10. 40 pages for $10. There's some background elements and some background characters that harken back to the Jupiter of the 90s. But you need not have read the Jupiter of the 90s to enjoy this. This is brand new. I've jumped ahead 20 years in terms of my art style and my professionalism, as it were. So this is kind of a fresh beginning, but it kind of commemorates the Jupiter of the 90s.
So that's awesome. I was going to ask you, hey, give me the 1-sentence elevator pitch, but boom, I just found it. A teen trapped in an unhappy home gains the ability to escape anywhere or stay to become a hero. Absolutely. So let's kind of start at the beginning here. Tell me the premise here of what we're dealing with.
So my main character, her name is Brenda. She lives in a world like ours where there's no superheroes. The only superheroes exist inside of comic books. She and her family have experienced a family tragedy. I do not tell you explicitly what it is, but buried inside the issue are clues as to what happened and why they've gone to this cabin to kind of reset their lives. There's a fog of sadness over the family. Her parents aren't mean, they're not neglectful, but she wants to run away because of the sadness. So they go to this cabin to kind of reset and kind of get away from the day-to-day. While they're at the cabin, a hole in reality opens up, and a revolution in a neighboring dimension smashes into their world, disrupts, upsets their world, disrupts it. And this world that has no superheroes, no magic, suddenly has magic and supervillains and so forth. and she gains the ability to basically open up portals, right? So this person who wanted to run away from home suddenly has the ability to open up a portal to go anywhere. She could run away from home. She could never have to get a day job. She could never have to go back to school. She could go anywhere she wants, anytime she wants. But she has a choice to make. Does she follow fight or flight? Does she flee? Does she run away? Or does she stay and fight? Because as a consequence of this first issue, the stakes begin to rise in terms of invasions into Earth, and she has to decide, first, I'm gonna stay and fight just in self-defense. Then I'm gonna defend my family, then my hometown, and then my world. So this is you watching a heroic journey of a superhero in a world that doesn't have superheroes. I love Marvel, I love DC, but man, they're overcrowded with superheroes. There's too many superheroes. You open up a Marvel or DC comic, it's like bring your superhero to work day. They're everywhere and they're not special. There's too many of them, right? Now, wonderful thing about Superman during the Silver Age is that you had Superman up in the sky doing amazing things, and you had Jimmy, Lois, and Perry White as normal people, as the surrogate for the reader looking up in amazement at this hero, right? I'm bringing that back with this, where there's only one superhero. It's her. You're going to see her become that superhero. And then the people around her are going to be in awe of her. They're going to be frightened of her. They're going to be rooting for her. They're going to be trying to prevent her from taking this journey. Meanwhile, these fantastical supervillains are going to keep pouring in. The stakes are going to rise, and you're going to be there for that ride.
Very nice. Very nice. So who would you say the book is for? From a, let's go marketing straight up, like who's your target audience with this?
Yeah, the book is all ages to the extent that there's no gore. There's drama, there's some heady ideas, but there's no gore, there's no nudity or anything like that. So the book is all ages. I am looking for people who enjoyed Silver and Bronze Age comic books and who enjoyed indie titles like Zot in the 80s. I'm looking for that kind of audience. It blends with a young adult audience, but certainly it's all ages to the extent that you could be 6, you could be 106, and you could enjoy this adventure.
Nice. So you talked about Jack Kirby being one of the big inspirations for you, and there was a couple comments in the chat. Roland was in there. He thought that one of the pictures I had up on the site was a Jack Kirby, and no, that is straight from you.
Exactly. So you're very astute, Roland. So here's the deal. In the world of Jupiter, there's no superheroes, but there's superhero comic books. So my characters read comic books written and drawn by that universe's Jack Kirby. So for those pages, I look at Kirby's artwork and I try to mimic it. I do an homage. I try to recreate his visual vocabulary. So there's sections of the book that are diegetic. For about 5 or 6 pages, you go into the comic book within the comic book, and throughout the series, those Jack Kirby comics in the world of Jupiter are going to kind of inspire and kind of prompt some of the milestones in her heroic journey. So that character there, his name's Captain Kleinbottle, and he's actually on the back cover of the comic book. So I've got a variant cover for you. For those of you that are sick of variant covers, those of you who are sick for paying twice for a variant cover, I give you a variant cover on Jupiter. And so this is Captain Kleinbottle. He is that Jack Kirby inspired character. He is written and drawn by that universe's Jack Kirby. And he's the kind of the North Star. He's the hero of heroes that they take their cues from. So there's a couple pages in each issue that'll be drawn in that Jack Kirby style. And I had a lot of fun. A lot of fun mimicking the 64 color palette of the Bronze Age Marvel comics. I work with my printer to find the right color tones and the right dots so that when you look at those pages that are the comic book within the comic book, it's not garish. It doesn't hit you over the head, but when your eye relaxes, you see those little dots, right? The little dots mimicking the lithographic print of the 60s and 70s.
When I was looking at it, I actually got the first thing that popped into my mind was actually Watchmen. The way they had the comic inside the comic with that pirate comic in there. Yep. And it was very similar in that they had the art have that dot matrixy, I guess, look to it. But that's definitely what it reminds me of. I should probably say that from a art standpoint, I am like, I don't know, dumb. Like I look at the Mona Lisa and I'm like, I don't get it. It's a portrait. I'm like a big story guy. Like I can get into stories and I see everything. But when you're saying, hey man, look at this art, I'm like, yeah, it's nice. what am I looking at? But I do enjoy the fact that you kind of mix them up there, and you can see it right on what I have on the screen. And I was going to ask you about that actually, because it seems like some of the art has that Jack Kirby look, some doesn't. But now that makes sense.
Yep. And if you scroll down a little bit, there's a scene of a dinosaur smashing into a castle. That's a little bit further. There we go. So that right there, that's the neighboring dimension where the revolution happens. So when I draw there's several pages that happen in that dimension. I draw it with this dark blue line, and I'm trying to channel 1970s John Buscema Conan, right? I want it to look like that, but I didn't want to do a traditional sepia, earth tone, bronze age or Iron Age color scheme. I wanted to make it psychedelic and surreal. So I really played with the colors and the washes and try to make it as topsy-turvy and psychedelic as possible. So the part of the book that happens where the revolution is occurring, you get that blue line, you get those weird colors, and then it gets into like the normal world, and it's more of a traditional illustration style.
Nice. Very nice. Roland has given me the pirate comic name, Curse of the Black Freighter. Thank you. I needed to hear that.
Yep.
Modern Toy Fair is here. How you doing, brother? He enjoys seeing the Jack Kirby inspirations in there. Just kind of jump on a couple others before I lose them. Scout Trooper Productions. Jack Kirby spawned so many indie artists. The guys that made the Ninja Turtles, that was what, Eastman and Lard. They were inspired by Kirby, and there were a lot more. And it's funny, like, when I look at the comic art, my, like, number one person, and he only does covers, as you said it earlier, is Alex Ross. Like, I look at his stuff and I'm like, man, that's beautiful. That looks like it should be on the Sistine Chapel. That's perfect. So when I remember going back and actually, as I get into the Kirby stuff, or as I've gotten into it, it's very interesting for me to go through it. And it's interesting to see all the people who were inspired by it.
He was extremely prolific, extremely creative, and he was just like an idea generator, right? And you think about all of the IPs that he created, and how much joy they've given people over the years, and how much money they've made for Marvel and DC. It's mind-boggling.
It really is. It's actually kind of sad because they don't get enough credit. I feel like they get like the verbal credit, like, hey, created by Jack Kirby, but from a financial standpoint, their family's not feeling it. And you talked about Marvel and DC being oversaturated, but I've actually really fallen off their books myself. I go back and I read a lot of older stuff just because I kind of feel like I don't want to say they've given up, but it's almost like a lot of the writers are like, well, I don't own the character, so I can only I got to stay within the guardrails, so I can't do too much. Like, my favorite comic books have always been, like, I'm a big Image guy. So when I was really into print comics in the early 2000s and 2010s, I was buying every Image book that came out every week. So I love the indies. It's pretty cool. Hey, Roland just dropped a couple questions here. I want to hit them here. Everything's done except for pre-press. Does that sound about right? I know you said you had a little bit of art left.
Yep. This is the hard copy proof. It's 40 pages, full color for $9. It's 95% done. What I'm doing is during the campaign, I'll be on like live streams, or I'll be doing interviews, and then I take my my Apple Pencil and I do some tune-up work, right? So I'm giving it the final touches so that when the campaign ends, I'll be sending the print files off to the printer. And if you back this book, you ought to have it before 4th of July.
Nice. That's quite a turnaround. So are you doing all the logistics of this yourself once it's printed, or are you doing all the shipping?
Yep, I'll be doing all the shipping and so forth. Right now, I'm at 140 backers, which should be manageable. If the campaign continues to do well, I'll probably end up with 300 backers. I can certainly fulfill that. It shouldn't have any problems.
It gets interesting. I think book comics are a little bit easier because they don't take up as much space. But
that's true.
We woke up today to 120 to fulfill, and it's like, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah,
it's going to be a long day.
Yep, I've got the Gemini mailers in my closet back there. I'm all set once the books come back, and if you back the book, you'll get it before 4th of July.
That is the only way to do it. The only way, the Gemini mailers. I remember when I was doing a lot of flipping of comics back in the day, and the Geminis, like, I still have a stack of them somewhere. So, what are your inspirations for this story? Like, do you have anything that you're drawing from, or any characters that you're kind of pulling from?
So I've always had a sunny disposition, and so the narrative tone is it approximates Scott McCloud's Zot. So if you read Reinvented Comics or Understanding Comics, that was by Scott McCloud. He did a series in the '80s called Zot. So there's and he's relentlessly optimistic, right? So I think that's part of my core. So to some extent, it echoes that. But you've got Jack Kirby, you've got some Mobius, the French artist. You've got some Grant Morrison, some Alan Moore in there. Those are all. If you mix all that up in my DNA, you get Jupiter.
If you could name your favorite either standalone book or run of all time, does it come back to the Zots? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, so Zod I think is the closest thing to Jupiter. However, I'll say the greatest indie run of all times is Nexus by Mike Baron and Steve Rude. That's gone over 100 issues. And they, they'll do several issues and then they'll pause and they'll switch publishers and stuff like that. But I think if you're looking at the greatest of all time indie comic book, I'm afraid it's going to have to be Nexus.
I've actually never heard of it. I feel like an idiot, but I've never heard of it.
You're in for a treat. So Dark Horse has published some compendiums, and you could even, if you do digital comics, you can get it like on Comixology or what have you. But check it out. So Nexus is about, it takes place in the far future. It's basically the son of a war criminal is visited by this alien who's hell-bent on delivering justice in the far future for those who've committed mass murder and so forth. So he gives this young guy Nexus. He becomes Nexus. Gives him the ability. Gives him basically these superpowers, and he gives him these dreams where he relives this pain and suffering of the victims of these tyrants and authoritarians and mass murderers. And so he's compelled, like once a month, to go out into space, hunt down these mass murderers and execute them. And then while he's doing that, he's dealing with the consequences and the grief and the kind of the trauma of what he's experiencing, because he's reliving the victim. He's living in his dreams. He's experiencing the victim's pain and anguish. And then meanwhile, around him, he becomes like a liberator, right? Because every time he goes and takes out a mass murderer or frees a concentration camp, there's refugees. They go back to his home world, and it basically this little society builds up around him. So Nexus by Mike Baron and Steve Rude I think it's the greatest indie comic book of all time. Best written, best drawn, best colored, best paper. It's a great series. Check it out if you haven't yet.
Yeah, I actually just wrote it down because I have not. I'm a big digital guy. Ever since, like, you have kids, you start running out of room. It's like, man, I don't have room for this crap.
Yeah, you certainly don't have room with all the toys you got there. So
no,
yeah, I hear you.
All my toys are in the garage in storage. Actually, we got to get a storage unit. Like, that's on my list for this week because, like, there's just stuff stacked everywhere.
Yep. Nice.
And it's crazy. Look at that, Roland coming in with he's friends with an artist that did a Nexus special with Mike Baron for a crowdfunding campaign. That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Andrew's here. What's up, man? Aloha. Thank you. Listen, I was always in America, technically. It did not feel like that at all. Different world. Totally different world. Here's some quick observations of Hawaii. Nobody knows how to drive. Like, stop signs don't exist. But, like, unlike Philly, New York, where, they roll through the stop sign and then flip you off, instead, they smile at you and give you the old shaka there. They're all in for it. It's a different world. It really is. And then you go from, like, so we were on Oahu, and then, like, the north end is, like, totally, I don't want to say rural, but it's not that much there. I told my wife, I'm like, if we ever moved here, this is where we would be. They just need to upgrade the 5G because it kind of sucks. Other than that, it was good. But that's where they filmed Jurassic Park, down around the East Shore, if I remember correctly. But then you get down south, and it's like tourist central. It's a very interesting place.
Did you tour Pearl Harbor?
We sure did. We spent a whole day there. We went on the Arizona Memorial. We did the Mississippi, the USS Missouri, and we did the Bowfin submarine tour, which, as a 6'4", 330-pound fat man, let me just say, getting through those bulkhead doors, my wife's like, we got down there, and she's like, I don't think you're going to be able to go through these. And I'm like, watch me. Shockingly, they weren't that bad. I'm like, this isn't bad. It's like they're almost made for fat men, but they're not. Just don't put me near those beds. But it was pretty eye-opening. It was fun to do it with my kids because, of course, it's the school year, so we had to mark this down as an educational trip. Okay. So we, I sat there with them the next morning doing the journal. Like, what happened on the Missouri? What ended there? Like, we did the whole thing because I'm a bit of a history guy.
Sure.
So it was a lot of fun. We did that. We went to the Dole Plantation where they, the main office where they grow all the pineapples. And that was really cool. We did like a tour there, and they have the world's largest human maze, which I scared my kids going in. I told them it was going to be like Harry Potter. There might be like a port key in there. We could get taken to another dimension. None of that happened.
Is it a cement or wooden maze? What
it's like bamboo.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I actually cheated a few times because I'm like, I could fit through that hole. And then like at one point I'm like, I am so lost. So I raised the selfie stick up and I'm just like R2-D2 in a swamp. Found my way out of there.
Right. I heard the trick is just keep going left and eventually you'll get out of a maze. Or maybe just keep going right. Either way. But yeah, I'm in Minnesota, so I've done my fair share of corn mazes.
Minnesota. I actually had, what part of Minnesota are you
in? Dakota County, kind of metro area. Area.
So I spent about 2 weeks in the St. Paul, Minneapolis area. God, I guess it's like 15 years ago now. But they brought me in January. Going back to my restaurant days.
Okay.
Home office of Old Country Buffet.
Ah, nice. Yep.
And they started all their management off by sending them there for 2 straight weeks. And I thought I was going to die. It was so cold. Like, my bones hurt. I remember calling my girlfriend at the time and being like, I don't know what's wrong. I think my joints are broken.
Well, and it not only is it cold, but then when you're inside, the air is so dry, right?
Yeah. Oh, that and the other thing that blew my mind is like, I woke up to like 1.5 feet of snow one day and I'm like, yeah, we're going to get a snow day. And they're like, what? No, you just drive through this. And I'm like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. And then I get out there and nothing's plowed. And they're like, yeah, we just drive through it. Like, man, maybe this is why your roads don't suck like ours do in Pennsylvania. They're all cracked up and oversalted. Now it all makes sense. But I got to go to the Mall of America, so it all worked out.
Cool.
So, let me see where we're at here. Roland, to answer your question, storage for the store, man. We are busting at the seams. So I have to move all the solid cases somewhere else because I keep expanding product lines because I keep seeing new shiny things. And it's like, ooh, I kind of want that. And I'm not even carrying everything I want to. I've purposely kept off things that, they're not great for business, but I want to have them for customers, Super 7, McFarland, etc. But space is a problem. We have officially, from a sales and a space standpoint, we should have a physical location. But I have this problem called I am cheap, and I really enjoy working from home. So the UPS man is going to continue to hate me. Because every day he comes and I say, hey, we got 80 packages for you. Sorry, buddy.
Although, cumulatively, it can be a strain on the back, but no one package is ever too heavy. No. Right?
For the most part, no. Like my one distributor, Diamond, actually, they send stuff in. They hate pallets for whatever reason. They would rather send in 40-pound boxes times 6 or 7 rather than put things on a pallet. I don't quite understand it, but it always comes in nice, so I can't complain too much.
I'm assuming because they're dealing with comic book shops, and there's probably, most comic book shops likely don't have like a loading dock, and I think that's probably their approach.
That's probably it. It's very interesting because like they don't have my like whenever I talk to the sales reps, they're like, "Hey, have you heard about the latest blank blank blank?" I'm like, "Nah, I just do toys." Oh. Like you can tell where their bread and butter is, but it's
Right.
ironic because I must end up on sales lists because my purchases are probably more than some comic book stores. But yeah, it's very funny to see how that goes. They are. I'm surprised that this is totally getting off of base, but I'm surprised that they have been allowed to like be the monopoly of comic book distribution for as long as it's been now.
Yeah, it was an accident. What happened was that there were in the late 80s there were about 10 different about 10 different comic book distributors. Some of them were nationwide, some were regional and so forth. And the big ones were Capital and Diamond. Those were the two big ones. And then the third one was this place called Heroes World. And what Marvel did in like 95, I think they said, hey, you know what? Let's vertically integrate. So Marvel bought Heroes World, and it was a fiasco. So during the 2 or 3 months where that was just a complete fiasco, the other publishers are saying, well, we gotta buy our own distributor. And they couldn't afford, and then I think they couldn't afford it to, or they couldn't get the financing, so they did these strategic partnerships. So first, I think it was DC signed a special exclusive deal with Diamond, and then Image Comics, they were on the fence. So Image and Dark Horse signed exclusives with Diamond. So within about a 3 or 4 month period, the other 9 distributors just collapsed, right? So then, flash forward like 6 months later, and Marvel throws in the towel on Heroes World. So it was completely by accident that Diamond ended up where they were. And Diamond, they did a bunch of things right. Long term, they should have had, competition's healthy, right?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate they didn't have competition, but by and large, Diamond did a lot of things right. And by having, you could always armchair quarterback and say, hey, they should have done other things. They should have done some things differently. But by and large, I think they did a pretty good job considering the kind of the weird situation that they kind of woke up and found themselves in. Right? It wasn't a conspiracy. It was basically a bunch of independent. Exclusivity contracts, and then because it was working and it was kind of it was a known playing field, the publishers stuck with it, and obviously the books were non-returnable. So the unfortunate side effect is the publishers stopped viewing the readers as the customers, and they viewed the retailers as the customers. And so for short-term gain, they would basically be shoveling junk, in my opinion. They were shoveling junk at the retailers and doing the variant covers, tricks, and stuff like that. Yep. So on the topic of variant covers, again for Jupiter, I've got my book, and if you want a variant cover, it's right on the back. So you only have to buy the book one time to get the variant cover. But yeah, the variant covers and the those 1 in 50 variants and things like that, where they kind of arm twist the retailers into buying 50 copies of something to get the one variant. They throw it up on eBay, try to get some revenue that way. It's long term. It wasn't healthy, and it speaks to where they're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, comic book stores in general, I don't know how the owners eat. Like, they are just, unless you're pumping out incredible amounts of books, which you can't do it unless you're in a major metro area. Like, I just don't know how they do it. Like, I was, when I was buying physical books, I was buying them from I don't know if it was a store or just an e-store called Discount Comic Book Store. Mm-hmm. And you had to order with previews 2 months ahead, and you would get 40% off cover price. But I'm guessing they just ordered right to whatever their purchases were. Yep. So that they wouldn't have to worry about having anything left over. And then they sold, they could eBay all the extra stuff. That's the only way I can see it work. Like, it's a very scary world there.
You're pretty close to how it operates. So imagine if you're an independent creator, if somebody puts you on their pull list, that's a sale. If they order like one extra copy, put it on the shelf, someone snaps it up. If you come in on a Thursday or Friday, it's gone, right? So there's not the latitude to kind of browse and find something, find a gem in the rough. It's much harder given that model.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was doing physical books, I was never a fan of having a pull box. I like to go and pull my stuff off the shelf. But like I got to a point. I was working for Panera Bread at the time. I would have to schedule myself to be like the closing manager on those nights because I'm like, well, I won't be able to get there. If I get there at 11, nothing's out yet. If I get there at 2, everything's gone.
Yeah.
So it was definitely interesting back in those days. What's your thoughts in general? We haven't talked too much about it, but like, is your mind blown at all by how much the collecting part of comic books has taken over the world?
To some extent. It's wild to, it's wild to go into like a Target and see a bunch of Captain America shirts. Couldn't imagine that, 30 years ago. That's pretty wild. And then I'm aware of the people with the apps and stuff like that, and the speculation on Wednesdays about what the hot title is that week, and in a way, these people are kind of treating them like penny stocks. That isn't me though. I'm going after the art and the story and the creativity and so forth. So behind me are my short boxes, and I don't have anything bagged and boarded. Like, so when I get Jupiter printed, I'm going to bag and board. I'm going to bag those because you need that's my product that I'm selling. But I've got behind me, none of my comic books are bagged.
Yeah.
I'm a comic book reader versus a comic book collector.
For the most part, I would say from the collecting end, modern comics are a trap. Like Admiral Akbar would come in, it's a trap. Yeah, like Roland saying it's 1993 all over again with the speculators. And I'll be honest, like I actually cashed in on that multiple times in the early 20-aughts.
Sure.
I guess it was 2010 or so. Like I would buy every new thing that came on Image, and if
Yep.
I didn't like it, I'd look on eBay and be like, "Oh, look at that! Peter Panzergast is going for $80 for issue 1."
I remember that. I remember Peter Panzergast.
Yeah. And and then like there's others where like I will never get rid of them because I love them. No, I lied. I guess I did. I flooded them and now they're gone. But I had like the full run of Saga. Like I was absolutely in love with that book. The art by Fiona Staples, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people, myself included, you look at how crazy the world is. In some ways, certain old, like not modern, collectibles, they seem safer than like, hey, I'm not going to go to the stock market today. I'm going to go buy myself a copy of Hulk, 179.
Yeah, the flight into real assets. Yeah, and so anytime an economy is, anytime the currency is progressively getting more and more inflated, people on the margin begin to take a flight into real assets, whether it be numismatic coins or comic books or fine art and so forth. So yeah, I think that's and it's probably some of those blue chip titles like Hulk 181. I'm sure that they'll never be. I think it's a safe refuge for your money, and then on the tail end of whatever we're in right now, you can always sell it for more than you bought it for.
Yeah, those. I always tell myself, like, first off, if I'm going into a physical asset, I'm going real estate. Like that's never not worked out for people.
Right.
But I might pull one of those, hey wife, I bought this for $1,500, but it's an investment. Why are you hanging your investment on the wall? Because I want to see it. Live with it.
That's right.
So, when does the campaign end? You said you had it going on both Indiegogo and Kickstarter?
So some people prefer Kickstarter. So I opened up a Kickstarter, and I've got like 2 sales on the Kickstarter, but I'm focusing all the attention on the Indiegogo because at the end of the campaign, it goes in demand. So it becomes like an evergreen store, right? Where you can still buy it or whatever. So yeah, I've got, I think if you scroll up, we can see how many days I have left. I think I have 28 days left or 27 days left. It should say if you scroll up 27 days. So we're at $5,077. If somebody backs during this live stream, we'll put us over 5,100, and we'll continue on our progress going up. The basic tier,
I was going to say, let's talk tiers.
Yeah, basic tier is $10 for a 40-page comic book, and you get a Captain Klein Bottle fan club membership card. So this
Nice.
was the $5,000 stretch goal, and we hit it. So now everybody who backs is going to get this membership card. So we talked earlier about the Jack Kirby influence in the comic book. That Jack Kirby character in the yellow and blue, he's Captain Klein Bottle. He's an astronaut, does time travel. So this is a 24-point PVC card that I made in the spirit of, like, in that world there'd be a fan club, and this is the membership card. And because he's a time traveler, the years on the membership card run backwards. And then in true 1970s comic book fashion, it's sponsored by a pie company. So, and on the back is a schematic of his rocket ship. So if you back Jupiter, $10, you get a 40-page comic book and this membership card, which is just kind of a little cool little memento.
Oh, I got told to do a refresh to see if anyone backed during the stream here. Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
They do. I didn't know they didn't update it live. How about that? And then we got the Skybolt tier.
Skybolt tier. So that one, you get the comic book, you get the membership card, and then you get a postcard portfolio. This is 2 each of 7 paintings that I did in the style of Jack Kirby. And actually, if you're able to scroll to the bottom of the campaign, there's a short, like, 10-second video about the postcard portfolio, which might be better than me holding these up.
Yeah, let me find it here. Right here.
There we go. And the other thing is the music. I've got the music off Adobe Stock, so your channel won't get struck. The copyright's good.
It's all right. I get struck every other day.
So this portfolio is 2 each of these 7 paintings. They're done in the style of Jack Kirby, and it comes in a envelope that I had printed with my logo on there. So that's at the $20 level. You get the comic book, the membership card, and this postcard portfolio. Nice. And I give you 2 postcards, so you can keep one, put it on the fridge, and then mail the other one to your buddy. Your buddy's going to open up the mailbox and say, "What the heck's going on? This looks cool."
Oh, that's a little trippy there.
Yeah, that's a scene from the book that I animated. So there's a trailer at the top of the campaign, and I encourage everybody to go watch the trailer. I had a lot of fun doing it. It's got artwork from the actual book. I did all the animation myself, but there's parts of it that are parts of the book that are super heroics. Parts of the book are kind of surrealist, psychedelic. I'm just having a lot of fun.
So where did you get into animating? That's a whole different ball game than just doing the art.
So I grew up watching Thundar the Barbarian and the Herculoids, and I always wanted to do animation, but I never had time, couldn't justify it. Last fall, I'm wrapping up, I'm getting Jupiter to where it's like 95% done, right? And I realized I've got to I got to make a trailer, right? And I'm a one-man band, right? I'm not gonna pay somebody to do a trailer. So I've got the Adobe Creative Cloud suite. So I use the Adobe Animate in my Creative Cloud subscription, and it took about 3 weekends. But I taught myself how to do animation, taught myself how to put in the audio. Had a great time doing it.
Nice, that's super cool. Yeah, I actually didn't even know Adobe Animate existed. I angrily left the Adobe Cloud like 2 years ago and said, "I'm done with you." Kind of like I'm about to do the Ecamm Live.
You can, if you want to hit play there, we can watch like 20, 30 seconds of it and give people a feel for the artwork.
Absolutely. Now go away. There we go.
So this is the family on that trip to the cabin. They go on a hike, and this is where the hole opens up and the revolution spills into the normal world.
Whoa.
So yeah, so that's the key part of the trailer. There's some other clips in there people can watch. Actually, this is actually the that other dimension here. I think it's about 10 seconds, might be worth watching.
Yeah.
Again, this is all artwork from the book that I brought into Adobe Animate in different layers and got to move around and had a lot of fun.
Nice. Very cool. Because I have a channel of degenerate collectors, I just want to kind of go over these different tiers here quick.
Sure.
Skybolt tier we talked about. That's where you get the postcard portfolio. What changes here? What is that? Jovian?
Yep, the Jovian tier, as you know, Jupiter the planet. So on the Jovian tier, you get the comic book, the membership card, the postcard portfolio, and you also get a challenge coin. So I had about 100 of these minted, and it's got my character on the front, and it's just kind of a celebration of the slog of going through the campaign. It's metal. It looks gold. It's not really gold. And then on the back is my motto, becoming synonymous with the indescribable. So that's at the $30 tier.
Awesome. The charity tier?
Yeah, so the story behind that one is I had a couple of different people approach me and say, "Hey, listen, I backed the book, but I also want to buy some for my school or the hospital or whatever." I said, "Oh yeah, I can do that." So I set up the charity tier where I think you get four for $8 or something like that. And then I've got retailer tiers. The retailer tiers are half off. You get eight copies for $40, and then I heavily subsidize the shipping. So if you're a brick and mortar retailer or you're an online eBay retailer, I as far as I'm concerned, it's the same thing. You can back at the retailer tier, and if you'll get it ahead, you'll get it when I fulfill. Now, after the campaign, I'm going to take the overs on the print run. I'm going to approach Diamond and Lunar and ask them if they want to distribute it. But if you're a retailer and you want to get your hands on this earlier, you can back at that retailer tier. And again, it's if you bag it and board it and put $20 on it, I don't care. It's yours to make a profit off of.
Go send it in to get graded.
That's right. CGC it. Slab it.
The Kirby Homage Commission.
Yeah, so if you like the Jack Kirby homage artwork that I do for Jupiter, at that tier, I will take your character and I will draw them in the style of Jack Kirby and color it with all the dots and stuff like that and the paper filter. And if you're an independent creator out there and if you want like to use that as a pinup, use it as a page in your book or whatever, I'm fine with that. I just want to keep his visual vocabulary alive. Marvel and DC, they will continually print and reprint Jack Kirby's artwork, but nobody working for Marvel or DC draws in his unique style. So it's a lot of independent artists like myself and Tom Scioli and Ladron, the Mexican artist. We kind of homage Kirby's style, kind of keep his legacy alive. We're kind of doing our part, right? Just to kind of continue to reinterpret and bring his style to life.
Awesome. So you said that once the campaign itself is done, they can still come here and buy it. It's not like a you're out of luck type of thing.
Yeah, on Indiegogo, there's a thing called in demand. So at the end of the campaign, it basically becomes a storefront. And I think that there might be some stipulations like you've got to sell X number of units per year or whatever, month or whatever. So can't guarantee it'll always be there on Indiegogo. But my thought was, I'm putting all this effort to drive traffic and attention to these links, and I may as well let them continue to work for me at the end of the campaign. Unlike, say, Kickstarter, where at the end of the campaign, that's the end of it, right? So I'm going to obviously put the book on my eBay. I'll probably open up a Shopify and just kind of make it available as many places as I can. But certainly the bulk of the campaign's got 27 days left.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, everybody. Jupiter, Jason Sandberg, 27 days, kind of. You can still get it. But go in, get it, buy two. Have one get what it was the comic book guys say. Highly collectible, buy two.
That's right.
Any final pitch for everybody here as we close out the hour?
Yeah, so believe me, if you love Bronze Age comic books, if you like mind-bending comics like Zap Comics to the 1960s. If you want to buy a comic book you can share with your younger brother or your kid, check out Jupiter. Go take a look at the trailer, back it. I think it's going to be bringing you things that you don't even know you're looking for. So it's unlike any other comic book out there. Please go check it out.
Awesome. Go check it out. I will be. I will absolutely be backing it. Just because I like reading good comics. So with that, everybody, I hope you all have a good night. I know I'm heading to bed, and stay cool and be nerdy.